For more on the story, let's cross live now to our Jerusalem correspondent, Irris Makler. Irris, first, what can you tell us about the latest about the ground offensive right now?
I can tell you that both sides confirmed that this is very intensive fighting. It's fighting on three fronts because while Israeli troops have moved into Khan Younis in the south, they are still fighting in the north of the Gaza Strip, basically or mostly in Sajaiya and Jabalia. That continues in the north of the Gaza Strip. Israel says it has chalked up some successes and has found the largest weapons cache of all the time, of all its entire ground offensive so far, short and long range missiles, and they've published photos of those. They say they are also eliminating Hamas commanders, and that in Khan Younis, a town that they associate with the leader of Hamas, Yahya Sinwar, it's where he grew up after all, they have surrounded his house where he is no longer to be found. I guess it's a symbolic gesture of some kind, symbolic military gesture, but he is either under the ground or perhaps even out of Gaza now, under the ground in Sinai, let's say. But in any event, that is all, I guess, on the Israeli side. The Palestinians, that is Hamas in Gaza, also say, the military wing say they are fighting more, and perhaps it is because they have retreated, if you like, from Gaza, from the north of Gaza to Khan Younis, and that's why they're fighting there. Fighting there is more difficult because there are so many civilians who have not left their homes. The UN estimates now that there's 80% of the Gaza Strip's population has moved somewhere, and I guess these last people are either don't want to move because they came from the north to the south, they've put themselves into Khan Younis, they don't want to move again, or they're people who live in Khan Younis and think there's nowhere else safe in the Gaza Strip, so they're not moving. And that means, of course, that there's going to be a higher civilian death toll and a higher death toll amongst Israeli soldiers as well. I think it's important to say that they have lost almost 100 soldiers since this ground offensive began.
Irris, stay with us, if you will. We're going to take a quick listen to what the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, said last night about demilitarizing Gaza, and we'll talk about it right after.
Gaza must be demilitarized. And in order for Gaza to be demilitarized, there is only one force that can enforce that demilitarization. That force is the Israeli military. No international force can be responsible for this.
Irris, when you hear these words, what do you make of the comments by Benjamin Netanyahu?
It's interesting. I have heard one analyst suggest this is the hill he's going to die on. This is what's important to him, to maintain that it is only Israel which can be responsible for demilitarizing the Gaza Strip, that is removing Hamas's military capabilities there. And that perhaps after that, there can be an international force, but not before that. That's either a committed security position. It has been his position for some time, since the beginning of this conflict. There's also a political dimension to it. The investigation into the massive intelligence and military failure that occurred inside Israel on October the 7th cannot take place, according to Netanyahu himself, until this war is over. If Israel has the job of demilitarizing Hamas, in its entirety, and it's not going to share that task with anyone else, this war could go on for months, in fact. And I think that people are looking to that as a dimension, that there's definitely a political dimension in this stand of Netanyahu's. There may also be, another dimension. Let's not forget, he's facing criminal trial. His trial has begun. And it's been going for a very long time. The court yesterday returned and said, can we now hear this matter 4 days a week? And Netanyahu's team said, no, that's absolutely impossible. In fact, we demand it only be heard 2 days a week. He has to run this war. So there's all these differing factors that go into this statement by Benjamin Netanyahu. And he makes it very clear it's his own decision as if he's going to be Prime Minister forever. Well, we know that there is an enormous push, both from his opponents, evidently, but also from people on his side of politics beneath the surface, that his time as leader may be up. So when he says, it will not happen while I am leader, that may be time limited.
Irris, thank you for all that important context. Irris Makler there reporting from Jerusalem.